We've been talking about autism and the great services that are available to our community at the Friendship House with one of the experts in the field. Chris, before the break, I wanted to talk to you about Asperger's. Tell us about that and why that's part of the complex of symptoms that people with autism have.
Okay. The current Diagnostic and Statistic Manual, which is kind of the Bible for mental health professionals for diagnoses, has 5 areas under what are called the pervasive developmental disorders right now. And those 5 are PDD, pervasive developmental disorder, autistic disorder, Rett syndrome, child disintegrative disorder, and Asperger's disorder. In May of 2013, the new DSM is projected to come out, and there will be just one diagnosis. It will be called autism spectrum disorders, and the other areas are subsumed under that. That's been done because there's such variation among clinicians. If one person says PDD, another person says Asperger's, another person says autistic disorder, and clinically we really can't find that much of a difference. I mean, there's a hint. Usually if I see a report from a clinician and they say pervasive developmental disorder, I'm guessing that the child is probably more mildly impaired. It's not across all of the areas as profoundly. Asperger's syndrome is meant to convey high-functioning folks with autism that have normal language development. And that will be subsumed in the new DSM into autism spectrum disorder. It's also called high-functioning autism. So we'll be talking, there'll be specifiers about functioning level. It's worrisome to me just a teeny bit that if you take away Asperger's, that a lot of clinicians won't be knowledgeable enough to diagnose, for example, a law student, a medical student with Asperger's. I mean, with autism. And they may, it's just more palatable to say Asperger's, et cetera. And there's folks with Asperger's that don't want to see it go away. It's really quite interesting. And people are worried, is it going to impact the prevalence? Is it going to impact the diagnostic criteria? And there's 2 strong schools of thought. I'm not on a strong school of thought. I think the changes are good. I just say then we really have to get out there and make sure that our clinicians have enough knowledge to make the more subtle differences.
Now, you talked with me about the importance of early detection and your results. The earlier the detection. Tell us a little bit about that and explain to our audience why it's really important for them.
Okay. Well, we've known for a while that therapy is based on the principles of applied behavior analysis, which is using theories of learning for social good. Therapies based on that, if they're intensive, are going to teach skills, are going to, in many cases, there are many studies, I don't measure IQ, but there are many studies that show improvements in IQ. But we measure improvements in adaptive daily living skills and in language and learning skills, and we do see some amazing changes. Now, it's hard, you can't tell when you first see a child where they're going to end up on the spectrum. We really haven't gotten that good at that yet. But once they start receiving the intensive therapy that we offer, you can start seeing their acquisition rate might be a hint after, say, many months. You might start seeing that their outcome might be improved. We have found of the children that have so far gone through our center, and we haven't really been there all that long, that we're pretty much maybe 10 to 20%, but that could just be a statistical fluke that we have had a lot of kids just be there at that level on the spectrum, but that percentage has left us and do not need supports in the school system now.
Terrific.
So we're handing over children to the school system that are more ready to learn, and hopefully makes it easier for schools to take that forward.
Tell me a little bit about the center. How's it set up, and are there?
Well, I'm very proud of the center. We went around to some of the best centers of autism, and I've been doing a lot of research for a lot of years, and I knew what things I liked, myself and my team. And we put together a building that is a state-of-the-art $1.5 million, I think I have that right, building that is sensitive to colors that might be too exciting, lighting, it's a little bit softer sound. Those things don't make all the difference in the world, but they're just nice. And we have and they do make it friendlier. Kids come in and they feel safer right away, and that's so important for kids with autism. We even eliminated the scary toilets because children with autism, maybe lots of other people too, don't like the sound of a toilet. So our architect had several delivered to his house and did the scary toilet test personally,
That's
I think,
amazing.
and made his recommendations.
The families need support as well.
Oh, yes. We offer trainings for our families, and a team that is there to support them. Having knowledge is power. And I do think that when you're doing therapies based on learning principles and watching the children making regular, small but steady gains, the best thing I think for parents is that the emphasis is off what my child can't do and how do we all work together to make them the best person that they can be, or to have optimal functioning.
What's the ideal age for you to begin intervention with a child?
I'd say around 2-ish.
And that's where you're going to have the best opportunity for strongest development.
Well, even earlier if you can. I mean, if you're, it's harder to get that right, but you can start with in-home services with that focus on having you request appropriately whether you have language or not, and teaching you to point.
Funding for the Friendship House. Where do you get your funding? And can the public help? I always ask this of my guests who are in situations where there is the ability for public support.
Well, the public can certainly help. Autism services in the great state of Pennsylvania, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, are funded by medical assistance. There are only a few states where that is the case, and that gets treatment into the hands of the children. And
so if I'm the parent of a child who's suspected to have autism, I need to file for Social Security to get SSI benefits in order to get the child on medical assistance?
You got me there. You need the medical assistance piece. I don't know that entitles you to Social Security.
Okay.
And it's based on presumptive disability rather than income.
Okay.
So that is how we're funded. But there have been changes. Act 62 went through the state legislature, and that requires commercial carriers to pay the first $36,000 of coverage for services for children with autism every year. But most commercial carriers are able to opt out of that for various ERISA reasons, et cetera. So it still remains the state. But to be a center of excellence, as we are, you really need more. You need people involved and donating, and many of our parents are fabulous in doing fundraisers, and that buys the extras that enable you to remain good.
When we come back, Chris, I want to talk a little bit about fundraising. I know you had one recently.
Yes, we did.
And what else we can do? I know we've been proud participants in your telethons in the past.
Yes, you have. Thank you.
And really enjoyed it. And I want to hopefully encourage some of our audience members to get involved and to feel free to call and see what they can do. So we'll give them a number to do that, okay?
Okay, thank you.
So please stay tuned to You Be the Judge. Hi, I'm Todd O'Malley with the law offices of O'Malley & Langen. If I say the phrase life-changing experience, what do you think? Getting married, having a baby, buying a home, all good things. I'll bet you didn't think work injury. And that's a problem with our society. People don't realize a work injury can change everything. Destroy your earning power, hurt your family, and damage your health. If you're hurt on the job, call O'Malley & Langen, 1-800-817-COMP.